Hello, fellow writers. My name is Laura, and welcome to Learn to Writer. This is a channel where we talk about the mental challenges of being a writer. And if you've been here before, may the words be ever in your favor. So I was just recently at the Writing Excuses Retreat, which I go to basically every year. And it's a week-long writing retreat on a cruise. It's great. It's fun. And we always have like a farewell party at the end where we do a whole bunch of stuff. And then they also give everybody a warning. And that warning is basically you have just learned a whole bunch of information, and it is not uncommon for you to go home and try to write and be unable to write. This is a thing that can happen. I mean, it happens this cruise because it's like week long, you're taking classes, you're getting a whole bunch of information, all that kind of stuff. But it can happen for other things, for shorter retreats, for writing conferences, even if you watch a really good video or a really good, read a really good blog post or something like that. Because basically what's happening is your brain is taking in like all of this new information, right? All this new writing information or all this new skill, new tools, new whatever. Your brain has to take it and turn it into a form that it can use, right? Because basically what's happening is the teacher's teaching you. They're saying, here's this tool and it is wonderful and it works like this and this is how I use it. And you have to take it from the tool, the way that the teacher is presenting it, and then turn it into the tool that you can actually use for your writing. Some more experienced teachers will be like, they will call out, this is the way I work. And if, you might use it this way, or like if you're a discovery writer, you might use it this way. If you're a plotter, you might use it this way. But in general, like no matter who you're learning from, that person is not you. I mean, right? Makes sense. And so you need to be able to take those tools, those skills, those whatever you're learning, and make those into something that you can actually use. And sometimes what happens is that while you're trying to do this, your brain is like trying to use it in the form that you got it, and like that doesn't always work. And so what happens is you might not be able to write. You might sit down and just like writer's block type thing where you just can't put any words down, or you do put words down and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like I can't write anymore. This is and this is what they warn you against, right? Like that this is a normal thing that happens. It doesn't happen to everybody. It doesn't happen every time. But it does happen, and you want to know that this is a normal thing so that you don't have more than a little bit of panic where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't write anymore. Wait, they said that this was going to happen. Okay, all right. I will say that, especially with the week-long writing retreat, and so if you go to a longer event, one of the other things that happens more often to me, I don't necessarily get into a place where I can't write, but I get into a place where I've talked with so many other writers and then successful writers, like actual authors or agents or whatever, right? And so I've heard all about what they do, and then suddenly I feel like the things that I'm doing are not good enough. Like I should also be doing this with my social media. I should also be going to bars and meeting agents. I should also be whatever it is, right? I get up in my head about that, and that is often more of a problem than the writing aspect of it. I just have to sit down and remind myself that I am me. And again, whatever they're doing is what works for them, and I can try out those things. Obviously, I'm somewhat present on some social media and all that kind of stuff, but the bar thing is never going to work for me. It just isn't. Not only do I not drink, and that doesn't mean that you can't go and do the bar thing, but it's just too it's too informal a thing. It just doesn't work for me, right? These are all things that can happen when you are bringing in more information, whether it be new tools, new progress, new like things that other authors or successful authors or agents or any of that kind of stuff is doing. It can feel like you are just not doing whatever it is. You're not writing enough, you're not social mediaing enough, you're not networking enough, you're not reading enough, you're not whatevering enough, right? And part of going and doing these things is so that you can expand your boundaries some, right? So you do want to push it into a place where you haven't been. At the same time, obviously, you don't want to push it so far that you end up in some sort of paralytic space where you like can't anything because you're just so freaked out that you're not doing everything. This space can last for a little while. You know, it cannot be unusual to go weeks or even maybe months without really feeling like you're able to write. Basically, what has happened is two major things have happened that leads to this unsettled, not able to write type of state. One, you've just got a lot of new information, right? You've got a lot of new tools you don't know how to use. You've got a lot of like books that people have recommended you read. You know, you've got some new things to try. All that just needs time to settle. And then the second thing that has happened is that your awareness has expanded. You are suddenly aware of just more, right? And so we're going to talk about each of those things individually. So for number one, where you've just gotten a lot of new information, like I said before, part of it is just taking it and working it into a thing that you are now able to use. This might feel like you have forgotten how to write or everything you write is crap. This is not true. You have not forgotten how to write and your writing is not crap. But we're going to talk about why it seems like this. With the not being able to write, part of that is there's going to be a kind of a play between you need to let yourself sit and absorb, and you might not write for a while, and that part is okay. And then there's also the part where you might kind of need to push through it and just write until you're able to write again. Basically, the only way that you're going to be able to tell the difference is you're going to give yourself a break for a little while, you know, a couple of days, a week, and then try and write again and see if you can. And then if you can't, maybe give yourself another week. And then at a certain point, you're going to be kind of like, you're going to try and write and you're going to be like, okay, now I just have to write, right? And that's kind of how you get through it. It's really the same way as, I don't think I've done a video on writer's block yet. Writer's block does not exist. You know, but when I talk about that video, we'll talk about that. But it will feel like that. And in general, you just have to write through it. You just have to. The second thing that I said was that your awareness has changed. Our awareness, we've talked about awareness before and developing the writer's intuition and all that kind of stuff. And basically going to a big conference or writing retreat or something like that, like there can be a big shift in awareness at like all at once, right? And that's when you become more aware. You become aware of the new awareness. Aware of the new awareness. And one of the things that I always like to remind myself is that nothing has changed. The world has not changed. It's just the bits of the world that you are now aware of. Nothing's changed, it's just that you are aware that it is there. So for an example of this, I'm going to, my editor is going to play a video of a horse. So this is a horse, and this horse is obviously moving around. If you don't know horses, then you're looking at this video and you're like, this is a video of a horse. Now, some people who know some about horses would be like, well, this is very obviously an Appaloosa. We know what breed this is. Appaloosas are very distinct. They've got the blanket like this horse has, obviously. So some of you might be able to tell that. And then some of you might know what gait the horse is going at. You know, is it walking? Is it trotting? Is it cantering? Some of you people know what that is. Some of you people don't, right? Whether or not you know what gait the horse is going at, it's still going that gait in the video. And then you might suddenly be like, oh my gosh, this horse is going at a trot because I now know what a trot is. A trot is a 2-beat gait where their legs go together. The opposite leg goes at the same time. I'm not sure I can do it with my fingers. It's like geese and then geese and then geese. But me, who's been working with horses for over 15 years at this point, I look at this and I can tell things that even people who might know anything about horses are not going to see. Number one, I know this horse. I can tell more easily whether or not he's relaxed, whether or not he is agreeable to what he's doing, what kind of mental state he's in. I can tell whether or not he's lame or sound. You not knowing that, again, does not change whether or not that's happening in the video. It's all there. And if the head trainer at the barn where I work were to watch this video and comment on it, they would be seeing things that I am not seeing, like things like whether or not he's picking up his back, which muscles he's using, whether or not he's using his muscles correctly, like might see some things that they need to fix in a training, in training. All of those things are in this video, whether or not you can see them. So if you were suddenly like, oh my gosh, this horse is picking up its shoulder properly, nothing has changed. The horse was always picking up the shoulder. It's just whether or not you're able to see it. This is the exact same thing that happens in our writing. There might be a book that you read as a child and you loved it and it was amazing and you kept it on your shelf, and then when you were in your 20s or your 30s, you pulled it back out and you read it and you still enjoyed it, but like you noticed things that were there, like themes, like maybe even the way the plot was put together that you just didn't notice when you were, a wee tyke. And again, that book was always written like that, right? It did not change. I definitely know of some people who they tried to read one of the Game of Thrones books, I think, and like completely bounced off of it, and then came back and read it like a year or two later, and then like devoured them, right? Those books are that book that they read was the exact same, 2 years ago as it was when they read it and loved it. It was just where they were. It was just their awareness. It was maybe the time that they were, period that they were in, like where they were in their life, where suddenly that book spoke to them and was enjoyable and all that kind. So that is going to bring us to the chart. The chart is wonderful because it explains a lot of things very simply and very well. So as you're seeing right now, this chart shows basically the cycle of creating art. This chart was made by an artist who draws, and so all of these things are in reference to drawing, but it works exactly if you replace like art and drawing with book and writing, because this is just kind of how the creative cycle goes. So on one axis you've got ability, the other axis you've got time, and so as you are getting better, your ability goes up over time. And as you can see, it's like it's a nice blue line that's going up that is showing your skill at writing over time. The yellow line is your ability to evaluate what the art that you're looking at. So in our case, reading a novel, you might be evaluating yourself versus the storyline in a piece of media or a movie or something like that, right? If you had never written before, you would probably read a book and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? And I am not any good at that. And so you start writing and like, oh, I'm not all that good, I'm not all that good. And as you see at the very beginning, as the blue line starts to get up towards the yellow line, this is where your writing starts to look less bad, because your ability to perceive the quality of writing and your ability to actually produce that writing are coming closer and closer together, and so suddenly you're seeing yourself be as good as the writing that you are consuming, like other people's writing that you are consuming. In that kind of green period where your skill has suddenly gotten higher than your ability to evaluate your other writing, this is called art high. this is when you are like, oh my gosh, I am the best writer in the world, and this thing that I have produced, this novel, this short story, this stage play, this whatever it is that I'm writing, this is the most awesome thing ever. This is a great feeling. I love this feeling. This is a wonderful feeling. It encourages you, it makes you want to write more, and all that kind of stuff. But as you can see is, as you continue on, your skill level kind of starts to peter out. And part of that is because you're like, wow, I'm so good. Your writing skill has stopped like increasing quite as much. Your ability to recognize good writing continues on along the axis of time and ability until you hit the period where your writing starts feeling like it's not as good as it once was, because your ability to evaluate things in writing has changed. And this is the way that it normally happens. If you don't go to a conference like this, or do a writing course or anything like this, this happens just naturally over time. What happens is you start feeling like your drawing is getting worse. And so you're kind of heading into this pink section. What has happened is your writing has not gotten any worse, right? Your beautiful blue line, it's stalled out a little bit, but it is still going up, right? Like over time. What happened is now the yellow line of your ability to perceive good writing has suddenly gotten higher. It has suddenly passed over top of your skill. And so then you start seeing all of the writing around you as being way better than your writing. And so now you are in an art low, or in a drawing, or you are in a writing low, because you are now perceiving your lack of skill. During the green period, you're seeing your skill, you're happy about your skill, and all that kind of stuff. Then you get into this pink section, and suddenly you feel like everything that you write is really, really bad. Nothing has changed. The writing in the world has stayed pretty much consistent. I mean, there's new stuff being added all the time, but like in general, the people who are better than you continue to be better than you, and even if you perceive them to be worse than you, and suddenly you notice something that they did where you're like, oh my gosh, this person is amazing, their work has not changed. What happens is that sometimes when this new awareness hits you very suddenly, like, obviously your skill and your awareness of skill do not go in perfect lines like in this graph. You go to a writing conference or a writing retreat or some sort of thing where you suddenly gain a lot of information all at once, your perceived skill, like your ability to evaluate the writing of others, like will go up very sharply. And because when it does that sharp up, it's very unlikely that your skill has also done a very sharp up. Because even if you've gotten information from like a writing retreat or a conference or any that kind of thing, you still need, remember, number one, you still need time to process it and put it into your brain. Your ability to be aware of writing and the skill therein of that writing, the yellow line can just go up more sharply than the blue line usually. I heard a couple of stories while I was on this most recent cruise about people who had been writing when they were younger, like writing in school or whatever, and then somebody would ask to see their writing, and they would show their writing, and then they would be like, oh my gosh, your writing is terrible. Or this thing is wrong with it, that thing is wrong with it, thus shattering the confidence. And then, like, the number of times that I've heard story of people having that kind of like feedback and then not writing for like 10 or 20 years, it's staggering, and it makes me so sad. And basically what's happened is somebody looking at your work and saying your work sucks is like, I mean, they don't even necessarily have to be right, but suddenly you have the awareness that your work could suck and that this person thinks it does suck. Suddenly the yellow line is so far above the blue line, and then people just give up. And, it can happen at times like that where someone very abruptly is like, well, this writing sucks. And it can also happen in the same gradual thing where you're writing and writing, and then you read some books and you're like, this book is so good that I am never going to be able to write a book this good. And then you give up because you don't think you're ever going to write a book that good. So I read quite a long while ago now Brandon Sanderson's Well of Ascension. It's the second book in his Mistborn trilogy. And spoilers for books that are ridiculously old at this point, but there's one point at the beginning of the book where one of the characters finds like a message written into a plate of metal. He's like in a place where he can't take the metal with him, and so he makes a rubbing of this metal on a piece of paper, like the way that like archaeologists do and all that kind of stuff, and he takes that piece of paper with him. And so we're going through this whole thing with like this god that's trying to, destroy everything and turn everything bad and all this kind of stuff, and the characters are trying to figure out the prophecy of the person who's going to save them and where the Well of Ascension is. That's the title of the book. And you get to the 3/4 mark or somewhere right around there, and one of the things that the rubbing says in it, like it's talking about this entity, this godlike entity, and it says nothing not written in steel can be trusted, because these people in the book who have they literally can store memories in metal and then pull them back out and look at them like in their memories, and then they put them back in there, and that like preserves it over a whole bunch of time. And you find out what has happened is that these people would pull these memories out to look at them, and then this god would change these memories. And so then when they put them back in, very slowly over time, their memories would change, right? And they're like, well, this is a fail-safe, all those people are like, this is a fail-safe thing. We take out the memories, we put them, we remember them, we put them back in the metal, and like they don't degrade, they don't anything. But this one guy has like perfect memory, so he actually like remembers all this stuff. He knows that this stuff is changing, and then we get later on in the book where this character who took this rubbing is like trying to figure out what's going on, and then he reads that line again, nothing not written in steel is reliable. And he's like, oh my gosh, I took this message off of steel, I took it off of metal and put it onto paper, so this message is no longer reliable. And it's like, the first time that I read that, I felt like I could never do a plot twist like that. Like, that I would never be able to do something, because, like, they said it, right? Like, you read the thing in the book that's like, nothing not written in steel. And then, like, the book happens, and then you and the character read this line again, and you're like, oh my god, right? And like it occurs to you then, oh my gosh, this message is no longer reliable. And I swear after that, for about 3 days, I thought I would never be able to write again, because I was just like, I am never going to be able to write something that's that good. Until of course, I sat down with myself and I said, are you really going to stop writing? Like, really? Completely? I was like, well, no, I guess not. Me talking to myself. No, I guess not. I mean, I've just always written, so I'm really not going to stop writing. And so then it's like, then eventually you're going to get that good. If you keep writing, eventually you're going to get that good. I'm never going to be Brandon Sanderson. I don't want to be Brandon Sanderson, but I'm going to be my own version of that good. Because here's the truth. A lot of people are better writers than you are. And a lot of people will always be better writers than you are. That is just the truth. No matter how good you get, no matter how many books you publish, no matter how many awards you may or may not get, there are always going to be better writers out there than you. And so that the only thing that we can do is decide that we're going to keep getting better. We're going to keep striving. And I will say that I wrote a book. It was after I had read Well of Ascension. I'm not actually sure how many years afterward, but I wrote a book where I feel like the plot twist is as good as that plot twist was in Well of Ascension. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because that book is not published necessarily, so I don't really want to spoil it in case anybody is going to read it. But I wrote a plot twist that was about that good. At least in my opinion. Now, other people can argue, whatever. Art is very subjective, blah, blah, blah. But in my mind, I got to that point, right? And I'm still getting better. It really does come down to, at some point, at many points probably, because the graph is not, like, it doesn't end at the end of that pink section, right? You go back and you keep working, and then you get into another green section, right? And then you go back and forth. If you keep writing, you go back and forth between pink and green and pink and green. There's times when you think your writing is amazing, and then you're going to keep improving, and then there's times you're going to think that your writing is crap, and then you keep improving, etc., right? And the important thing is that as long as you are working on that, as long as you are, like, working on making your skills get better, you're going to keep going up that graph, and that graph is just going to keep going nigh into infinity. You'll keep learning until you die, as long as you don't just stop writing. Now, I am going to put a little aside here that some people do write a book, and that is the only book that they have in them. Mark Zusak, who wrote The Book Thief, I think he might have tried to write another book after that, but really, if he did, I didn't hear about it, which means it was not all that good. But The Book Thief was amazing. I enjoyed it. It influenced my writing a lot. The point of view in that book is, like, the story is told by death, and that is just, it's such a beautiful, unique point of view. And he never wrote another book. If you're here and, you're watching this video and all this kind of stuff, you've probably got more than one story in you. And even if you don't, you could write The Book Thief, right? Your one story could be that. It could be that influential, right? So, no matter what story you're writing or why, keep working on it. And if you have more than one story, I'm here to encourage you to keep writing. It's not easy. That's why I have this channel. Learn to Writer is teaching you how to deal with all these mental things that come up that, like, most people aren't even aware of, right? Like, if you've never seen that chart before and you didn't understand, okay, my awareness is going to go up, and then my skill is going to go up, and then my awareness is going to go up, right? Then you might get stuck in that, lack of skill. You might perceive your lack of skill and just be like, well, I'm never going to get any better, and now I'm done with writing forever. Which just, I don't want anybody to ever do that. If you ever stop writing, I want it to be because you've said what you needed to say, or you found another creative outlet, or whatever it is, right? Like, I don't ever want anybody to stop writing because they convince themselves that they're not good enough. There was one time I went back and I read a really old story. I think this was one of the first stories I wrote where I actually, like, finished it. I wrote a lot since then, and then I went back to this story that I remember so fondly because it was amazing, and I finished it, and it was great. And I started reading the beginning of that book, and oh my God, it is so boring. Literally nothing is happening for like 3 chapters. Like, nothing happens for 3 chapters. There's no attachment to the main character. There's no, like, it's bad. But at the time, I had written other things, and so I kind of, like, looked at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Right? Like, kind of like that. It was like, ugh. And so there was a point at which I was in a writing group, and they were just asking questions. We were just talking. And one of the questions came up as, like, what kind of a goal do you have? Like, what do you want to accomplish by the end of this group that we're, like, doing? It was like 3 months or something like that, where we just kind of encouraged each other and all this kind of stuff. And I said, I want to get to the point where I look back at what I'm writing right now, the thing that I think is wonderful and amazing and is the top of my skill, and I want to see its flaws. I want to see how bad it is. Not that what I was writing was bad, but, like, if you keep improving, you're eventually going to see stuff in your own writing that you wrote before where you're like, oh my gosh, why did I make that decision? If I had done this, it would have been so much better, and all that kind of stuff. Like I did with that first book, where I look back at that and I'm like, I mean, I don't know exactly how I would fix it, but I know that it needs to be fixed, right? I know that it's bad. I probably won't ever. I don't think I'll go back to that story, but it doesn't matter. Like, I want the thing that I was writing at that point, like, I want to be able to see that it's bad because that will show me how far I have come since then, right? Like, that's one of those things where, like, suddenly your awareness goes up, right? And in a good way, because you look at that and you're like, that was bad. I know I can do better now. I can see that my skill has gone from, like, here to here. And so, like I said, sometimes this will happen after you do some sort of a workshop or a retreat or go to a conference or something like that. Or it will just happen naturally over the course of you writing a book and editing it and doing whatever you do with it and then writing another book, etc., etc. And I encourage you to look forward to this growth, right? Like, look forward to the times when you're in that green period and you're feeling great and it's amazing and it's wonderful and you feel like you can do no wrong. But then also look forward to the pink area too, where you see how far you have yet to go and keep striving for it, right? Because you know by hitting that pink area that you are just improving. Your awareness is now improving. Now you can see where you can go, where you can take your skill to, as long as you keep on writing. So I hope that both your words and your suffering are beautiful and help you to grow. And if you like this video, go ahead and like this video. If you want to see more of Learn to Writer, then go ahead and subscribe. And I come out with more videos that can help you with the mental challenges of being a writer. And in general, just keep writing. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Like, has nuance that you just don't notice. You're like, this is really good, but, Cece, what are you doing? You're interrupting my discussion about drawing. Yes, or not drawing, about writing. Yes. Come here, come on the camera. Can you come on the camera? There you are. Yes, so cute. You're very distracting. So I'm going to have to put you down. I mean, like, set you onto the floor, not, yeah. Okay, there we go. No. Okay. All right, okay.